Welcome to another episode of Neon Radio Podcast. I'm your host, Reece. Today we have a very special guest joining the podcast. He is an acclaimed Australian actor, musician, and artist. He has appeared in over 75 different television and theatre productions spanning over his 45-year career. As an actor, you would know him from such films as Rogue, Ned Kelly, The Mule, and in TV shows such as Top of the Lake, Harrow, and Rake. He has been nominated for 3 Silver Logies and 5 Australian Academy of Cinema and Television Awards, taking home the win for the leading actor in the TV show Grassroots in 2001. More recently, you can see him in the new Amazon series Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power, set to air on September 2nd. Please welcome my dear friend, the talented Geoff Morrell.
Well, what an introduction. It's all true. It's all true, by the way, yeah.
I tried to do my research.
No, indeed, you did. I tell you what, you did your research better than most journos do their research. No offence meant, but you know, there's a fair bit of laziness in the
I know
in that world these days, shall we
100%,
say,
100%.
without wanting to put too fine a point on it.
But we've been trying to do this for how long? It's over a year?
Actually, a long time. I mean, you know, there's been a lot in between, mate. You know, there's I mean, COVID for a start. That's probably not the least of it for me. You know, COVID was just like, that too, yeah, to some degree. But so there was that, and I was doing this job, Lord of the Rings, you know, in New Zealand, and you were going, I should believe you're in this. How long ago was that? That was probably early 2020.
Yeah, way longer.
Well, actually,
you're right.
Yeah, because I do see Reece quite regularly. He does make a very good coffee. I will just throw that out there.
Thank you.
I remember when I got the role. Of course, it was kind of big news, and I didn't really expect to get it. And Reece and his dad knew very early on that I was destined for a Lord of the Rings.
That's it. But after you came back from Lord of the Rings, you went through, and if I may bring it in, you went through a bit of a scare with your medical issues and things like that. Because I remember when you came back, you felt a little bit more like, I don't know how I feel about acting. Like, you were excited for Lord of the Rings, but you were also like, I don't know how I feel about my career choice, like, at the moment. And I've got so many more interesting things that I enjoy doing. You enjoy doing your art. You enjoy doing your music as well. You have an album coming out. I know that. Are you working on? So, yeah, you're a man of many talents.
Thank you. Yeah, well, I try, you know.
And after that, you seem to have had a different mindset. Something changed.
Yeah, no, look, very true. It's just as you talk, I'm kind of reminded of living in a small community as I do, and as I choose to do quite specifically. All that stuff that you just talked about, you know, is you have shared. Because, I mean, let's put our cards on the table. I come and get coffee and eggs and a bit of bacon. No bacon anymore because I'm off the bacon now. But where Reece's family has set up a very lovely little business. Like, it's the only. I remember when I first moved here, even though I'm like a Wollongong local. I always thought that Mount Kira would have had as any suburb does, a little centre of shops. Yeah. Not so here in the mountain, and so I eventually discovered the Rest convenient, the Rest Cafe. I turned into the Rest Cafe. Anyway, that's a long story, but I say it by way of all that you say is true. I came back from New Zealand, and in fact, for a number of years actually, I've had a really ambivalent relationship with the industry. Yeah. If indeed you can think of it as an amorphous thing. It's not really. It's just a series of random events, you know. Really,
100%.
I think in many ways. But so you can't help but see it as some sort of amorphous thing sometimes. But yeah, I suppose I'd been ambivalent for a good 10 years or so, having worked as an actor all my life, you know. Yeah. Bound to whatever you do, you know, with your life, even though if it's a profession that some people would think, you would never have crises there because it's your dream job, isn't it? You know, of course you love it. And but you know, of course, like any job, it is many, many times a job by which you can,
100%,
you know, need an income to pay bills and just live the life that normal people do.
It probably starts off with this so much more than what it is, and then as it continues on, like any job, it feels like more of a job. Like you jump in. I know when I did a few, you know, of some of my time in film industry, you start off with like wide-eyed, like, oh my God, I'm doing this, you know, this is amazing. And then as you go along, you know, you seem to either through being broken down by it or or just, having to chase after it constantly, it starts to kind of break you a little bit.
Yeah.
And I can see that, I can completely empathize with that on that front.
Yeah, there's look, I mean, don't want to be sort of an idiot intellectual about it, but there is a degree of kind of dumbing down that you just have to do, and it's fine. It is actually fine, but you get to a certain age and it takes its toll, and you start asking yourself the questions. What do I actually do with my time? What is it? Okay, it's fun and everything, it's all that, but I pretend to be other people. I try and be as realistic as I can, and that takes its toll. Yeah. Because the great irony with acting and any, I think, creative sort of endeavour is that in order to do it, you've got to have not a very thick skin. You've got to be able to access those softer, more private parts of yourself, and yet you've also got to have a thick skin, because you can't take criticism that is constructive criticism, which is the thing that we all need in any arts endeavour, is some constructive criticism. You can't afford to be sensitive about that. You can be sensitive about your work, but not about what people say about your work. So but it's interesting again, and I know where I was going with that, being living in a small community. The fact that all that stuff that you said about my journey is absolutely true, and I did have that ambivalence, and then I had. I came back from New Zealand, having been there and kind of stuck there in COVID for 12 months of the time anyway, and thinking, great, I'm going to get back and I'm going to see my grandkids and my kids and my house, and come around and get a coffee from Reece. And within 6 weeks I had, I was diagnosed with what turned out to be a benign brain tumour, but pretty heavy kind of stuff
of course.
And it's that thing that it's not something that you ever think you'll hear, and it does actually change your life, and to the point now where I've actually almost gone full circle and I'm now back to those times, because I kind of saw how easily it can all be taken away from you, life that is. I realised that it is all a gift, and it's easy to say that as an intellectual idea, but to actually feel it and know it in your bones, because you went through a period where you think, maybe I'm not going to be here anymore. Hang on, I haven't finished. There's that sort of panicky thing, and so I'm in that glorious, really headspace of feeling like I just want to do it all. And I love what I do, and I think, forgive me, it's not an Australian trait to talk oneself up, but I'm pretty fucking good at what I do.
Well, everything I've seen you in, you're very fucking good at what you do.
I'm not always good. And it's opinion and everything. But you can't.
Geoff, no one is always good.
You can't be in anything for 45 years or something, and not have developed skills at what you do, and especially I think in that endeavour, because I think. I'll sort of finish off that whole sort of journey, but I think in many ways, if I was to go now, I would be kind of satisfied that as a very influential kind of bloke in my thinking about being an actor was a bloke who was president of Actors Equity, Don Crosby. Anyway, okay. He came back from the war and was like, I want to be an actor. And anyway, he got to the end of his career or whatever, and he'd been president of Actors Equity for like 40 years. I was a grizzled kind of lefty, great kind of fella, and had a family most of whom then went into acting and the arts and everything as well. And he just said, look, all I ever wanted to do was to raise my family following my creative passions. Like I didn't have to get a real job. That of itself was like, that'll do me, in terms of satisfaction.
Yeah. Well, I feel like, there's these points in times you've said here already that you're like, oh, I think to myself, what am I doing? Or that's what you felt like you were thinking. What am I doing myself? I'm playing other people. And I think you forget the fact that, people go to these films, go to watch movies and TV and things like that to get away from reality, even if it's for a short amount of time. And I feel like if that's not important, I don't understand what is. I think that, yes, I don't think it's important to go away for a long time, but I think that it does help with our psyche. And, at least for me, I know that when I get to spend my 3 hours watching Lord of the Rings, it's a bit long, but 3 hours watching even one of those movies, then, I feel like I've been entertained, I've gone through a journey, and I've also learnt things. I think I've learned a lot more. I mean, this says something for our education system, but I feel like I've learned a lot more from film than I have from...
No, it's a great perspective.
School.
No, look. I mean, we're getting radical here now, but there is a great and strongly argued view that school is actually a way of creating fodder for the workforce, kind of teaching you to say yes and do a good job and do your homework, and there's nothing wrong with that. Yeah. Kids out there, don't teach,
we need those people as well.
That's right. But I mean, there's all that other stuff, and I suppose in my most altruistic form of being an actor in the early days when I did theatre here in Wollongong. I mean, this is where I started. I kind of grew up here, and my mum was in amateur theatre at Dapto. When I was a teenager, very embarrassing. Seeing my mum up on stage doing Hey Big Spender, and all of us 4 kids would be sitting in the front row out there at Dapto, all teenagers, seeing our mum being basically a prostitute, singing Big Spender. It was
that's rough.
It was Mum, seriously, why? She'd be listening somewhere. She was always listening.
But was she a good actor?
I really don't know. I don't know. She might well have been.
Can't remember it at this point in time.
No, she was a good singer. Say she sang. She sang with 8 women or something. Big Spender. But it's funny you talk about films. It's interesting because, I totally get what you say about what you can get, what you can learn, not only be entertained, et cetera, but can actually learn from going to see a film. Or for me, it would be as much going to an art gallery, going to see a band, But I think when I grew up, I didn't become an actor because I love films and I loved... I only saw 2 films before I was 18, I think, or before I was 17 or something.
Wow.
And the first one was Planet of the Apes.
Yeah.
Which is interesting, seeing as I was very close to being in the most recent Planet of the Apes, which is shooting at the moment, actually. But anyway, that's another story.
Yeah.
But and the other one was when I was about 17, my mum took us all to Corrimal to see Sweet Charity.
Sweet Charity?
Yeah, because she was a musical person. She loved
that's fair.
Shirley MacLaine. So it was a Shirley MacLaine film. So, I'm not your kind of little skinny kid who sat there in the film thinking, oh, one day I'll be up there. That wasn't me. I was I got into it through theatre.
Yeah.
And so I suppose, a little bit more sort of... a bit more of a wanker, really, university wanker. That's me. That was me, and
so
still to some degree.
The philosophies from it, then, or like the intrigue in learning about people and personality and the world around you.
Well, that's it. I mean, doing plays by Brecht, the international plays, for example, and Australian plays. When Australian
Caucasian Chalk Circle, is that Brecht?
Yeah, that certainly is. Yeah, Man Equals Man was my favourite Brecht, but all that, all that stuff.
Yeah,
and even contemporary Australian ones like. Being in a lot of David Williamson plays over the years that I've been, and that I did one. The first one I ever did was here in Wollongong with Theatre South when I was part of the acting company, which they had going for 6 months of the year, where we do kids theatre and education in the morning, and then we do Dario Fo at night or J.M. Singh's Playboy of the Western World. So it was pretty So I was not sort of like had any eyes on the silver screen.
Yeah.
Or even the little screen, it was I got into it that kind of way. So, but I think so therefore I suppose my journey with screen work has been a journey. It's interesting. I'm just kind of discovering this in the moment. Has been a journey to find the worth in it.
Yeah.
And in you encapsulated it absolutely in what you just said. You and millions and millions and millions of people like you. Have are able to be moved, educated, or whatever, have a laugh, all that stuff, and it's a very valuable thing. It's not a thing to be thought of as I don't know, just flippery.
Exactly. I think there are some films out there that I don't think anyone makes a movie or makes a play or any piece of art to make it terrible. But I think that's not the goal. Maybe, or some do,
sometimes
maybe just for the sake of it. But I do think that the ones that really stay with you are something that teach you something. And if it's not something general knowledge, it's something that is deep inside of you.
Well, kind of stays with you too. I mean, I most recently, this is This is quite different kind of territory. Talking about, let's talk about movies we've seen. I don't see many movies, but I did see Everything, Everywhere, all at once. Oh my God! So that's things like that. That's a fairly extreme example of.
That's a lot of editing.
A lot of editing, but something which stays with you because it's not immediately explicable as to what the hell is going on. But you know what's going on. It's like, okay, this has taken me on this journey, not a linear or logical journey even, but one that gets to the heart of, one of my favourite subjects that I ever studied at uni. I did an English history degree. Was a first year subject, which was a bit of a filler subject. Greek, the philosophy of science in the Department of Philosophy of Science, which no longer exists in any university anymore. The Department of History and Philosophy of Science. Anyway, we studied the sort of Greek philosophers, and some of whom were of the view that everything is a construct, that idea that sort of this table that we have here that we're leaning on, we think it's absolutely real because we can touch it, but it's all a construct. It's pretty out there.
It's the Matrix of now, they might call it.
Yeah, exactly.
If you've ever watched that film.
Yeah, so I think that film, the Chinese or Korean, I'm not too sure. Do you know?
I think she's Chinese, but don't quote me on it. I don't want to.
I thought it was, but then I suddenly I think it is actually. I think it's mainly because it actually feels like it's certainly in the area of some great.
I think
Korean
it's American.
cinema that's come out.
They're American directors, if I'm not wrong.
Yes,
they're two brothers.
Oh, okay. Because of course, what's her name? Jamie Lee Curtis.
Yeah, she's great.
Fabulous in it. So it is. You're right. Yeah, it is an American film. Yeah, but set in the American Chinese world.
Yes.
Let's do that as a couple of white people sitting up here.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Fig tree.
It's not for me to say.
No, exactly. But that's my.
I haven't done my research. But well, I think that going down your journey of film, you've worked with pretty much all of Australia's major cast members and directors, and you've also gained lifelong friends with artist David Field, which I know only today you were just playing some music with him.
Well, that's right. A session to which I plan to return after just talking about myself here for a while in your humble little studio here, Reece. Yes, indeed. Yes, David is my mate.
And I wanted to ask, well, have you made any other lifelong friends that you've gone along with and maybe collaborated with or continued on having times with after productions? Because I feel like that would be pretty common when it comes to the people you click with.
I suppose so. And I suppose it's more common in the world than it is in my world because, I look, just I suppose, and this is the other thing why I've always wanted to get back to, my sort of journey with the industry to try and find what is the worth in what I do, I don't, actors aren't people who I kind of would naturally hang out with.
Yeah.
Even though, Dave's my best friend, he's an actor, and I do have, yes, but it's not just because they're actors, it's because of who they are. You know what I mean?
Of course, it's the person.
I'm not really interested. I think I say that because, in a lot of worlds, I think a lot of people think you've got to hang around. You've got to hang around. If you're an actor, you've got to hang around actors, or at least hang around. The world becomes quite myopic and very small. I think when you're younger, more so. As you get older, you realise, your life broadens out, and you think, oh, right, it's only just a part of life. It's not. It's not the whole
exactly,
of life.
It is. It feels like work at that point in time as well.
That's when you start asking those questions.
Yeah, you're going to work and then back home or to wherever hotel you're going to or whatever.
But I have. I've sort of just most recently from the Rings of Power, I suppose I should call it, because that's what it is. It was never going to be Lord of the Rings. It was just it was been referred to up until. It's not funny, for 2.5 years, if ever I've talked about it or ever we used to talk about it, it's always been the untitled Amazon project,
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
But it's not now.
They want to keep that secret.
But, it was Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Well, of course, it's not, because they were never, that was never on the cards of doing the same material that was covered by Peter Jackson. So I was always wondering what title they were going to come up with, and so Rings of Power. But a really lovely Canadian actor by the name of Dylan Smith, who's in the show, and his wife is an Australian theatre director. They live in London, but with the pandemic and all that's gone down, they wanted to spend some time in Melbourne to see her family, and she's doing a play here in Sydney.
Okay, yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, Dylan and I have sort of kept a lot of contact, and he's come up. He's been here. I don't know whether he's had a coffee here at your joint, Reece, but he's been here.
Okay.
He might
probably did.
I know I
think
brought
so.
Stephen Curry in here the other night.
You did. I
There's
was like,
an example.
I was trying to keep cool. I was like, oh, this is Stephen Curry. I didn't like relax, man.
He's just an idiot like me, like
he was lovely.
He's a really nice man, and he's also, I'd say, along with Dave, is one of my very close friends. Lives in Melbourne, so we kind of don't see each other as often as Dave and I do, because of course Dave's in the district.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But yeah, and I suppose a few others. But with Dylan, it's been fantastic. And I don't know, he's again, I've always bonded with people, not necessarily with, I don't even really know what Dylan's been in, but I know he used to be a top-level ice hockey player.
Oh, wow.
So that kind of fascinates me.
That's
When I say
awesome.
top level, I'm
Yeah.
sure he wasn't playing in the Major League, but that's his history. And his mum and dad are both Academy Award-winning documentary filmmakers.
Where does he hail from?
He hails from Montreal, I think.
That makes sense with the ice hockey.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
And he's been living in London for a long time doing theatre, I suppose. He would have met Anna, his wife, while they were doing theatre.
Yeah.
So he's just an interesting guy,
Yeah.
And look, there's a few over the years. You pick up a few strays, Reece. You pick up a few strays along the way.
I feel like, when even the few films that I worked on, I ended up getting friends that I would just... It would be one of those things where I wouldn't get to see them often, but we'd constantly talk about whatever. And just pop in here and there and chit-chat about things. But, while you're on a production, I always found that, it almost becomes like a weird little... odd family, like a creepy weird family that doesn't really know how to truly connect and is kind of down their throats a lot.
as we're finding lately, even more creepy weird than one could imagine.
Yeah.
Sometimes. Let's not even.
Yeah.
Yes, it's we don't want to go down that territory. But
hopefully that changes.
And I've never been in that situation myself. I've got to say, actually, I know that there's been issues around the. In Australia that have been exposed through through Me Too and amazing stuff. I've got to say, people like EJ Norval, I regard as incredibly brave young people. But yeah, I've surprisingly, maybe it's just that I'm an old white man and I've had a blind eye to it. I don't think so. I've actually seen as I say, show people. There is at its heart, people who do shows are pretty awesome people. Actually they are, and I'll put that out there.
They're hard workers, and it's funny. I think one of the biggest things that when I learned when I was on set and doing things around set is you do a lot of nothing, but when you got something you got to do, you got to be on the ball. And
that's it. Yeah.
And those people are on the ball, And you try doing nothing and then going straight to 100 kilometers an hour, and it's weird. It's like waking up and then going to sleep and then waking up at 100 Ks.
It's interesting. It takes quite an ability to manage your energetic output. Yeah. I mean, I will say, he didn't say it to me. He said it to my mate Dave, because he was his very, very good friend and mentor, Bill Hunter, always used to say, we're paid to wait.
It's true.
The acting's free.
Yeah,
we're paid to wait,
and everyone is.
It sounds like a flip line too, but it's not. Because I realise, say you sort of, and I'm just doing something at the moment, just a couple of days on a show called Wolf Like Me.
Okay.
For Stan and a really good friend of mine, someone else who I've kept up.
I know Wolf Like Me.
Yeah, it's
what season? Is this in another season?
It's the second season.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So Isla Fisher and
cool.
What's his name? I'm sorry, Jake Gas?
Oh, yeah. Jake Gas, yep.
Yeah. Who's a lovely fellow. I can't remember what it was. Oh, that's right, of course. I haven't done it for about 12 months since the surgery, since the brain surgery. And it was like, oh, that's right. I've got to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning. All right. So you're up at 5 o'clock in the morning. You go and you have a yarn, you have a coffee, you get your costume on, a little bit of makeup, hopefully not too much. I always try and arrange to, have short hair and stuff like that, so I'm not spending too much time hanging around.
Chair,
And then you might be there 10 hours of doing stuff in the background. Oh, we're doing a 2-shot of you guys. Oh, yep, no, okay, good. And then at 5 o'clock, they go and they're asking for a bit of overtime, and they still haven't done your shot.
Yeah, I know.
And it's like, so you got to sort of keep, and a lot of, I know I did in the early days, would smoke far too many cigarettes and eat far too many Monte Carlo biscuits. And
film fat.
And then but also then you just sort of, half an hour after you've had 10 Monte Carlos, you're down even lower than you were before you had the Monte Carlos. So, but there will be that time at 15 minutes past 6 where you've got a pretty crucial kind of being the vehicle by which the story is told. Ultimately, you've got to sort of you've got to nail it,
Yeah.
And so therefore, it, as I say, it might sound like a flip kind of phrase that we're paid to wait, the acting's free. It kind of is a bit like that, because you get those skills of don't just conserve your energy, and knowing, just as I said before, I think knowing how to organise where your energy needs to be in maybe over a 16-hour period.
Yeah, compartmentalize that.
Yeah, and if you've got a big role, times that by 50.
Yeah,
because you've got
exactly.
50 days of that, or whatever it is,
And
so
yeah, it's crazy. Well, when you're in that situation, because I know there's a whole bunch of different ways that actors will get into their headspace with things like that. But for yourself, because I know, there's I wouldn't call it a pretentious way, but some of them will stay in character for the whole time, and then others will.
No. Yeah, no, you're right.
It works for some, as long as it's not impeding on production, which is the worst. But if that's how some of them do it, all good. What do you have a process, or is it just when you get on there you feel like it's just your go-to?
Look, we've all got a process, but I tell you what, that people like that impede my progress. I don't know. I'm not up for it, I'm fine. I'll deal with it if you really have to do that. I worked with an actor recently who will remain nameless.
Yeah.
And who has to remain nameless. But there is a therapist in the world that has a fortune to be made just in that one person.
Human being.
That's all I'll say.
Yeah.
And gives himself a very hard time. And
that's the worst part.
Well, it is, and it's sort of a lot of it comes from. Look, I get that period where, acting was this mythological kind of thing, where it's this method, there's your method, you do the method. That was like the 50s and 60s, man, it was all that stuff. And to even talk about it now is like, I don't know, I get that there are elements of that. I mean, there are elements of, if you've got a sort of something quite significant to do and you've got to nut your way through, which is what storytelling, filmmaking and theatre making is. It's just problem solving.
Yeah.
And, so if the best way to sort of work your way, your character's journey through this story. If it's a live theatre show, it's told within the space of that hour and a half, whatever you're on stage. If it's a screen project, it's told sporadically over sometimes a 3-month period where you work a lot and then you don't work for a month. And then
yeah.
So you've got to piece all that together.
Odd scheduling. It really is. Sometimes it can be really whack scheduling.
Yeah. But you've kind of got to, You can sometimes think, I've got to just, in that 3 weeks that I'm not working, I just want to keep reminding myself of, because I don't want to turn up on set in 3 weeks' time and go, now, how was I don't know,
how did I
who
feel?
Was I?
Yeah.
How was I standing? Was it, a lot of theatre actors, they sort of, they would kind of make a bit of a joke about it at times, but, they discover their character only when they get their shoes on, because they work out how this person stands on the ground. And it's a real visceral thing that can sometimes mean more than however much you've read or however much you've sort of
true.
done your research or whatever. So yeah, there is an element of trying to work out the character physically and sort of mucking around with it in your own personal life. But I honestly find it's really boring. It's really boring when you're working with people because there's a kind of selfishness about it, Well,
it's unfortunate. You don't get to know the person. You get to know the character, and unfortunately, the character isn't always that interesting, especially when it's not in those moments of the film.
Yeah.
So...
But I mean, it even gets to the stupid point of, I don't even know who it is, but I can imagine who it might be. There's well-known American actresses, or maybe even Australians who work in America, I don't know, where just not allowed to have eye contact. You're in trouble.
That's ridiculous.
You get your hand smacked if you have eye. So obviously, I don't know. I don't know. That's all just mythology, but that's what I mean by, stuff's just boring. That's just completely boring to someone like me who still got a fairly kind of, I firmly believe, and actually know that you are only actually as good as the people around you. And I don't mean crew, although that is one thing, but you can't do it in a vacuum. It is a collaborative project, and I remember working in the early days. I remember when I did Rogue with a really nice American actor, Michael Vartan, and he, my character was just losing it, and on a tidal island, and there was this massive crocodile sort of going round and round and round.
I remember Rogue.
Yeah. Anyway, so I was the classic annoying English pommy tourist, and I just freaked out, and anyway, and I'm screaming whatever, and they're there. And then so I did my stuff, and it was in the middle of the night. It was shot at night down in Victoria. We couldn't shoot it in Northern Territory because too many crocs.
Freezing.
Because we were all in the water, yeah. And but then we turned around for him, and I was just there, and I'm just giving the performance, and he was just, and it was a night shoot. And I mean, we went back, and he kept thanking me, like sort of, and I'm like, and I say this all the time, but that's just what you do.
What we're supposed to do.
That's what you do. And he's like, it's not what everyone does.
Yeah, exactly.
And so you go, okay. But you know what I mean? So I still come from that thing of like, yeah, well, I would expect you to do it for me.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I don't know what we're doing here.
Well, it's the energy given and taken.
Yeah. We're not doing your bit, my bit, your bit, my bit, your bit, my bit. We're doing our bit. It's our bit.
That's bad acting.
Yeah.
Your bit, my bit, your bit. It is.
Yeah.
And it doesn't turn out with a good production by the end of it. I don't think it does.
Not really. Look,
Very rarely.
Sometimes if the material is so undimensional, one-dimensional or whatever, then it, maybe a kind of a cartoon style or a style that doesn't have to, where it's much more technical, I suppose.
Yeah, stylized.
I can see that sometimes, yeah.
Yeah, there's moments of TV shows like, I don't know if you've ever heard of Mr. Robot, where they kind of place cameras in locations where you feel like the space on the screen is off. Instead of the space being where the eye line is, the space is away from the eye line, and it gives this weird feeling of emptiness to the room, and makes you feel like what's going on. And it doesn't feel like a backwards and forth between someone. It feels like someone's talking to themselves. And I mean, maybe in those moments you might get that type of thing, but yeah.
I mean, no, look, you come across that all the time. I don't know.
I
don't know. Benefit of the doubt, you might be having a bad day, but yeah, look,
it's the energy in the room. It's how you work off the person in front of you and with you.
I think so, and also, I for me anyway, it's just like that's not something I ever want to change, just because I'm in a situation where there's an actor who's working a different system who's kind of like, no, I don't need any of that. I'm just about how I look on, and just better angles. What about this?
My God!
What if I look up? It happens. Look, it does, and that's fine and there is also a degree of technicality where you kind of go, step outside of the character I'm doing. Where's my light? Okay, so they're shooting over there, so they're getting that angle of me, and the light's coming down there, so you can then fashion the details of your performance so that at the crucial points, your eyes, which are the most communicative thing on screen, can actually be seen. That's a technical thing,
exactly.
So that's all fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, look, we've got onto actors, but sort of being pains in the asses. As I said before, I have to say, I've been pretty blessed actually. I've been on some. I've been doing it as you said in the introduction for 45 years or so, and I've been so blessed to work with just some great bunches of people who I'll never forget.
I mean, even looking at your one movie, looking at The Mule. I see Leigh Whannell, like who played Gavin on the opposite of you, and he went on to make, a bunch of amazing films.
He'd already made those.
He'd already made Saw as well.
He made Saw, yeah.
But yeah, he would go on to make Insidious and what else? The one where there's like the guy's got the thing and he's it's awesome.
Is it?
He does some great movies.
Your cup of tea, Reece. Not
I know.
Yeah, but that's okay.
But you all I'm saying is I feel like you've worked with such great cast and crew and interesting human beings, and it's part of that journey.
Yeah, look, I have, and and as I said, I in the past, I think I would have found talking to you openly, in front of a microphone, which people may hear, about how how it's been really cool, and it comes through this massive overhaul in my life, a major illness. We're thinking I'm not going to be anymore. And just suddenly clicking into and actually, I got to stop sort of, you know, as I've been talking about today, you know, figuring out whether something's worthy or not. It doesn't really matter. Of course it's worthy, you know.
It is,
because I'm worthy, you know.
Exactly.
And I'm like, what a gift and what a gift life is. And so I'm as you know, we're coming for.
We're doing another circle.
It's probably a nice way to circle. We're going to have a part 2. What do you think?
That's probably the way to go.
Yeah.
But I do want to get into one small other thing because if I was to leave here without poking and prodding a little bit into the rings,
you can have a couple, okay?
Into the rings of power because
Oh yes, of course.
I'm going to reach over here and I'm going to show you this. This is from when I was a child. When I was a child, I got my own ring of power right here.
Right.
Yeah, so when I was a kid, I went to watch Return of the King. And every year, me and my family, the whole family would go to watch the next Lord of the Rings movie. And it wasn't until I was probably about 8 or 9. Look how small this thing is.
It is
8 or 9, go for it.
Okay.
8 or 9 that my grandmother would go ahead and...
Good quality, ladies and gentlemen. It's got quite a bit of weight to it, I was going to say. Oh, there you go. I know my jewellery.
Yeah, I know.
Well, I know my rocks. More about that later.
But yeah, she would go off and buy me that for Christmas. So to let you know that this is quite a gift to be able to do this with you and have a chat with you. Having been a part of a production like that is an understatement. What was that experience like, just generally?
Yeah. I think it's been extraordinary, actually, I've got to say. And, you know, at the beginning, I didn't really know what it was going to be, because you never do, you know, and there's a lot of secrecy that surrounds anything these days, you know, and especially television productions with, you know, with an IP as intellectual property as sort of valuable as this one is, that there's you know there is understandable kind of secrecy around what's actually going on, but so I was really excited when I got the job.
Yeah.
And then, not that I have any Lord of the Rings kind of history, I'm not really into it.
You didn't do any research or jump in or anything like that? What was your extent for that?
I've read The Hobbit.
That's fair.
And,
that's the best one, just to let you know.
There you go. And I, what else? Yeah, I sort of... My niece's husband they're both Lord of the Rings freaks. They actually did the engagement tour. It was a Middle Earth kind of tour. So he, TJ, I don't know what you'd call him, but he's my niece's husband.
Yeah.
He proposed to Katie, you know, at somewhere in Middle Earth, somewhere in the Shire of Middle Earth, New Zealand. Spoiler, New Zealand. It was New Zealand, folks. It's not Middle Earth. Even though they do think it's Middle Earth, and in some ways it is Middle Earth, but it's not really.
Yeah.
So look, I knew it, and really, it's like everything, you know. I think people often talk about research, and yes, there's a great value in research, but often I've discovered over the years the best way you can spend your time researching is read the script, research the script, because everything comes from the script. Now. And especially with this, because it's new material, there was no other material I had to really watch. My character is not one that, I don't know, we shall have to wait and see what happens to my character, you know, but it's certainly not one that I think people will know. I don't know. Yeah. But it doesn't, it doesn't really worry me, because I don't see that as a massive part of my job. My job was to kind of channel this kind of fellow, this human. I'm a human. Yeah. So that makes it easier in some ways. But yeah, it's all the cues for what was needed was in the script, and through talking to the showrunners, especially, who were pretty. It was their first big show, you know, and they're really lovely. They're very, very sweet, and
that must be
very difficult situation.
Yeah, that must be tense.
Yeah, there's the big machine. They're kind of both got a real incredibly enthusiastic energy, not just because they're American, but they just have. You know, they're like college friends who've written together for years and years and years. So suddenly they're like, man, we're doing Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, I can't believe it.
So my first day over there was, and one by one, we went in for a meeting with them, and came out feeling like, oh, wow, they were really nice guys, and they're just so enthused, and they so love my character. I didn't think it was that big, you know. So all this was, and that's how I felt, you know. And from then on, there's sort
drive.
Yeah, there's maybe something in another chat we can talk a lot more about it, because there's a lot of stuff I can talk about, like my experience with it.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's sort of through it. What happened was COVID, and the job changed from being, and I call it a job, as you can observe.
Yeah.
It changed from being go over for 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Come back home for 2 months. Go over for 6 weeks. Come back home for 2 months. And I have family. I have children. I have grandchildren. I had a dog who I recently lost.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Well, yeah, thank you. But I could have lost him while I was there.
Yeah.
Poor old Ian.
Yeah.
He hung out for me.
Yeah.
So this whole world went by. There was a massive. We just started. And done all the wardrobe, done the big read through, which was quite cool, with all the Amazon executives, big room, read the whole first 2 episodes.
Yeah.
And did all the wardrobe, and it was looking fantastic, and I was quite excited. It's real dress ups for me, because I'm not playing a cop.
I mean, the money spent money spent in this production is ridiculous.
Yeah, but it's like
so you see it.
It's like genuine dress ups, even though like my stuff, my gear is not. No, mine wouldn't have cost that much. It's more just that it's it's like a costume. It's like being a peasant in a Shakespearean play.
Well,
or
we've
something,
seen your character in the trailer for a moment, so we can kind of get a picture of the get-up.
Exactly, yeah. And literally just we were about to film, I think, on the Tuesday, and the weekend. Before, we were going to have there was a social gathering at the showrunner's place. That was cancelled, and it was the beginning when COVID was kind of happening.
Yeah.
And then we found out, I think on Saturday or Sunday, that it was going to be held up.
Yeah.
They didn't know for how long. I was following the news on CNN, mind you, because I spent a lot of time in my hotel room in between costume, wardrobe fittings and makeup and hair and that kind of stuff over a period of I was there for about 4 weeks, watching CNN every night, looking at what's happening in Europe and going, oh my God, this is
more and more terrifying.
If this stops, it's going to stop not for a couple of weeks. It's going to, and of course, so I got one of the last planes out of New Zealand, and I think 5 or 6 months later, they cranked it back up again. And but the working conditions had changed.
Yeah.
And because of the hard New Zealand borders, we couldn't come in and out.
Yeah.
So the commitment was, we need you here for, I think in the end it was about 10 months for me.
Oh my God, yeah. That's such a long time.
So that was big. So when you talk about how was it, that impacted on my actual experience. I had some great experiences there and some great times, but overall, unbeknownst to me too, there was a what became a 44 millimetre tumour in my head, so my body knew there was something. I was not feeling 100% either, so that impacted on it. Yeah. So when I think back to the shooting of it, it was the actual work was really fun, because it was dress ups. I'm doing an accent, it's not my accent. I'm not just playing some kind of variation of myself. At least I hope not.
Yeah,
I mean, you've seen the guy. He's pretty hardcore.
Yeah, he seems it.
I know. He's like a devil worshipper or something. I don't know. He might. I'm not. I don't know. He's not.
Who knows?
What would the devil? Devil doesn't
even
appear
September
in this
2nd
world.
on Amazon.
You are, yes, indeed. So that all was great, but the rest of it was epically disruptive.
Yeah.
In my personal life, and then of course came back and couldn't participate. I don't know even whether they would have requested me or not in all the. So the main cast all were, had a big media kind of thing, which is still ongoing, which I haven't been a part of. But nicely and quite excitingly, I've just 10 days ago or so got a call from agents saying that they want to fly me over for the premiere. So Friday week, I'm on an Emirates and
on your way to London, is it?
Exactly, yeah, from Fig Tree to London. We're probably going to have to get a T-shirt after this, Reece. That goes on Redfern, New York, London, Fig Tree.
You're going to be going all over the place though after this one.
So anyway, so maybe we should. I tell you what, maybe we should make a end of part 1.
I'd love to.
When I get back from London, I'll also know a little bit more about how much I can say, because they did say to me just recently, "Look,
be quiet."
No. They said we're about to. When they offered the fly me over for the premiere, they said, we're just letting you know too that we're about to. The name of your character will be announced, so it'll be out there, so you can say it basically.
Yeah.
But I'll just double check.
Yeah, no. I don't want to get you in trouble. I'm here to just have fun and
exactly.
Get your experiences from it.
No, but
so.
I mean, look, if you I reckon, I mean, as you kind of know but don't know full well, you might have got an inkling today. I can talk underwater, like I can.
I can get you back here as many times as you want to come. I don't mind.
Yeah, so look, I'm the same, and like I say, I've got this newfound, and please, folks out there, it's like I'm talking about a lot of things, and I try not to be sort of too just the way I was brought up, to not talk about myself too much.
I know you are very humble. I can see that. At
the moment, I'm kind of like going, you know what? In fact, my mate Rocco from Cringilla, who I went to school with, an old mate of mine, he's going to be in a few projects that Dave and I are working on, which more about later. But
look forward to knowing that.
Yeah, it's what's lovely about being here. I suddenly realised most recently, like, wow, there's someone I know lives pretty close to me who I've known for like 50 years. Yeah. I've known him since second form or something at high school, And now I can't remember why I mentioned Rocco there, so I'm obviously rambling on far too much. But we'll
cut it off here, and we'll definitely have you back in.
Yeah,
and we'll talk more about everything. I want to know more about music with you. Exactly. I want to know more about like just your general interests. I know you're so interested in your agriculture and past even your arts. You're interested in bettering the world, just generally.
Look, yes, I mean, as grand
even though you've bettered the world with all your acting already, mate. That's what I think.
That's it. It's as I said, I don't want to make too many people too sick, but life is a gift.
It is,
and use it. And I intend. This is my intention. So yeah, it's been a pleasure, mate. And we will talk about that and many other things in a couple of weeks.
Well, thank you for coming on, Geoff. And until next time.
My pleasure.